You have to order pizza right now.
Right now. Hello and welcome to episode number 103 of Unrelenting. I am Darren O'Neill. He is Gene Devdriv. And
these numbers just keep getting bigger.
It's funny how math works, isn't it?
Is that what it is? Math? Okay.
Should we have started going in reverse? Or using multiples, maybe?
That's a creative idea.
This is podcast
show number 22 now.
We're getting back down to zero. Once we hit zero, we are done. Woo!
Well, I had to think about this because one of the fields to fill in Buzzsprout for each episode is the episode number, which that makes sense,
right?
But also I guess it's not season, it's something like season. It's one of the bigger denominators.
Yeah, well, some of them have started that with seasons now, which I don't like for podcasts. This isn't a television show. We don't do like 6 to 9 months and then take a break and come back for the next season.
Don't we?
We should. It's not a bad idea to take like 3 months off.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go into edit in real time seasons. Yeah, it is season. So I've been using for season the year. So like last year, all the episodes were season 2023.
Wow. We've done a lot of seasons.
And season 2023 and episodes number 1 through 100. This is for Sir Gene Speaks, of course. And then this year, the season is 2024. And I thought, well, shit, does that mean I go back to episode 1?
Right, you would.
And I thought, nah, screw that. I'm going to continue starting with episode 101. So now for this year, it's season 2024, episodes 101 through 107. Which makes total sense to me. I don't know if that's going to confuse some of the players out there.
It may, and I think a lot of this stuff is becoming irrelevant now as far as numbering. It's a thing that's always been done in podcasting, but it's never been done in any other sort of content creation. If you're doing a nightly news show on CNN, you don't come on the first night and be like, this is episode 1. And then the next night, this is episode 2. I'll tell you what it affects.
It affects the order of the episodes in the RSS feed.
Well, that would also go just by the date.
Yeah, but it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. I tested this.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I can create an episode tomorrow with a lower episode number, and it will be placed further back in the RSS.
I wonder if that's RSS or due to BuzzFeed.
I don't know.
We'd have to try it on.
Yeah, you could try it on yours. See if just like skip an episode number, and then like the episode after that episode, try creating an older episode number and see if it sticks it in according to episodes or according to date. Because it actually makes sense that it would be according to episode number, because you may publish things out of order, but want them to be in the RSS in order.
True.
And using the date of publication means you would have to unpublish and republish everything anytime you made a change in the past.
That makes sense.
Because otherwise your older episode will always show up at the top of the list, even if you're just like replacing an older episode because of something.
And let's be honest, most people as a podcaster, want the episode number because it's like, hey, we've been around a long time. Give us more money.
Somebody asked me that recently when they were like, yeah, how many episodes you got? And I don't know, 107 or 109 or something. And they're like, oh, so way more than 20.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, way more than 20. I guess everybody knows that most podcasts never go past 20. So they kind of use that as so if you're on episode 18, yeah, you're probably not going to survive.
Yeah. And they add up quick. I mean, the Rock and Roll Pre-Show, not really a podcast, but I think we're over 400 now episodes of that, which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah, well, you're twice a week, so that's right. 200 episodes per year, right?
Well, it's 104 episodes a year.
Or what? Math.
It's my
too early in the morning.
Yeah, it's my co-host on the other show that was a math guy. So
Oh, was he a math guy? Okay,
Yeah, that was
sure
his.
he could figure those things out.
Yeah, that's where he got his degree in mathematics.
That's his claim to fame.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think math is important, and I can do a lot of math things that a lot of people can't, like actually do it in my head. But at the same time, math was never a fun topic for me. I never enjoyed it.
No, I hated it.
It was always work.
Math and any of the science I hated, any of the complex
I
math.
failed calculus twice before I finally passed it.
But you know what I
took
loved?
it 3 times.
When I got into the computer programming, that clicked for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah, there was no math involved because
Right.
the computer could just do everything, yeah.
You just had to know how to get it to do what you wanted to do and learn the syntax and all of that.
Yeah, the beauty of the computer is basically just logic. It's all about rules. And as long as you can memorize the rules, you're set. You're good to go. And then C came out, and those fuckers just got rid of all the rules and said, you can just do it any way you want. And I really disliked C for a long time. Now I'm getting into the weeds being a geek here, but back in the early 90s, I had made a prediction that said that with object-oriented C, we will get to a point where not a single developer working on a project will ever know how the program works. And I think I was vindicated. I think I'm actually right. I don't think there is a single developer anymore in any company that truly understands how any piece of software that is written in Object-C actually works.
It's the magic of it. Now ChatGPT can just write it for you.
Yeah, but the problem there is the same, is ChatGPT will write it in the way that most people have written it, because that's how ChatGPT learns, which is not to say it's the best way to do something. It's certainly not the shortest way to do anything. And it's going to incorporate all the additional linked libraries that people traditionally throw at it, which is why software now is in gigabytes instead of megabytes or even kilobytes the way it used to be. You know, Microsoft Word used to fit on an 800K floppy, on a 3.5-inch floppy, with plenty of room left over.
Yeah. Well, the best example of this for me has always been Adobe Acrobat, which was originally
huge.
Yes, it was originally svelte. It was great. And now it's turned into the bloated bloat from Bloatland. Photoshop
that runs like 20 different processes on your computer 24/7 for no apparent reason. It's just running Adobe shit.
In case you want to look at a PDF at some point.
Yeah. At some point during the month, you may want to open a PDF file. So we need all these processes just running in the background all the time, slowing down your computer.
It is scary when you go look at a process monitor and see what's running.
Oh, yeah.
If you know what you're doing, you can prune that down.
I paid for, as you know, because we talked about it, Adobe Suite back during Black Friday. So it would have been November, right?
Yes, I have to renew mine.
I've not installed it because I dread installing it with all the crap that it adds on there. So now I've got, like, this is the stupidest thing in the world. I bought it because it was on sale, but I haven't installed it because I really dislike it.
Hey, if you decide not to use it, just send that activation code over to me. I'd be glad to add an extra year.
Would you like another copy?
Yeah, I mean, I have to go in and buy. And this it's getting harder as well because I've made this told this story before. But I have a friend who's a teacher, doesn't like any of the Adobe stuff, so it's like, yeah, no problem using her account. And every year you have to renew, and if you don't,
smart friend,
and if you let Adobe do it, they're going to charge you way more per month than what you can go buy. And it used to be very easy to get the activation code. Now, Amazon no longer sells the activation codes. The only thing Amazon has, which is where I do a majority of my shopping, all they have is, well, you could be a part of the Amazon subscription thing, which I tried once and it was like, no, fuck that. So I've been ordering the cards the last couple of years from Best Buy, who still has them.
Okay.
The teacher student edition. But this year I went in to get that and they no longer ship them. So I'd actually have to go into one of the stores, which allegedly have them. And that's fine, but it's like, why won't you ship the little credit card size thing that you scratch the little thing off?
Too many people lie and cheat and steal.
Probably. I noticed, though, that B&H, which is a very reputable company,
does been around for a long time,
the activation code through email. So that's probably where I'll end up buying.
So what? Don't they need to confirm your teacher email address or something?
They did that originally, and they just keep renewing. They don't.
They don't? That's shocking. I would have expected they do. I used to have an EDU email years ago because I found that there was a college in Arizona that would issue you a student ID immediately upon you signing up for a class.
Whether you paid for it or went through.
If you cancel the class, you kept your ID because they would assume you're going to redo it next quarter or whatever.
Right.
And so it was a way to just like purely online with zero cost, obtain a fully legitimate student ID. But they figured out that they had like 1 million students and only were having, 25 classes that they were running. So I think they figured out, people are just signing up just to get the damn student ID.
Well, because it is very profitable to have, you can get discounts at not just Adobe. There's a lot of
places. Yeah. And I was an idiot for letting go my original student ID back at the University of Minnesota because I had the absolute best email. You know what my email was?
No, tell me.
No, let me tell you. Chairman.
So just said, tell me.
UMN EDU.
Really? Chairman. They let you pick your username? Was this?
I was the chairman of the Student Service Fees Committee at the University of Minnesota, which is kind of like a student government thing. And they let me pick the email when I got in that position. And I was like, chairman. And it wasn't like the email wasn't tied to the position. Every new person each year picked their own email that they wanted for that.
But they couldn't get chairman because you had it.
Exactly. And so I kept chairman for years. And then eventually it said something like, please verify your student registration, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I guess we're done. But in retrospect, like having and maintaining it, I should have signed up for a class just to keep it or something,
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the price. B&H is selling it for $179, which makes it right at $15 a month, where if you don't do that, and if you just let Adobe charge you the student rate, I think it's over double that. I think it's like $33 because I think the normal rate.
I think that's what I'm paying. I'm paying, I think, either $30 or $33 a month as the discounted photographer rate.
So you can't beat $15 a month for the whole suite. If you can make that happen.
$15 a month is the cheapest.
And it's cheaper than Clean Feed. It's even if you go with the cheaper Clean Feed.
Literally cheaper. And Adobe has their own recording software now too.
Well, that's what we record this show on. I mean,
like one that replaces Clean Feed. There's a website that you can go to record shows in Adobe now.
I did not know that. I'll have to look for that.
Yeah. You should do some research. It's what is it called? It's like podcast.adobe or something.
Right, because I know they have these simple, like we'll clean up the audio, which is basically just going to clean up background noises and some of the reverb.
Yeah. But they do have, but there's a bunch of them now. That's what I'm saying. So Clean Feed is bizarre that they're jacking their prices up instead of down because there are more and more competitors. When they first came out, they were kind of the only game in town.
They were the best at the time.
Yeah. And right now, like I said, the Descript, which is the editing software I use for audio, they bought a company that is a Clean Feed competitor. And now that's free to anybody that pays for the editing for Clean Feed. And you can do, I asked them, like, is there a limit to the number of shows, number of minutes, number of recordings or anything? And they're like, nope, it's full unlimited right now. So, yeah.
Nice.
And they have, it's exactly like Clean Feed. It's all web browser based, but with the addition of video if you want it. But honestly, I've been doing Zoom now for about a year, and Zoom has added more professional features like original sound for musicians, high fidelity music mode.
They realized that one of the big things that happened during the pandemic a lot of musicians wanted to play together online.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stepped it up because when we went to Clean Feed, Zoom as an option was horrible.
It was horrible. Absolutely. I think in a lot of ways, the pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to Zoom because they got a huge inflow of money that they then spent on development, because it went from just being a screen sharing app with really crappy video and, a lot of compressed audio to being really the lowest latency app for doing meetings now. There are other apps that do meetings, but even if you compare the Google one, like Google Meet or whatever, to Zoom, first of all, Zoom doesn't run in the browser. It's got a native app for the phones, got a native app for the computers, obviously. And it comes out with updates almost every week. I mean, it's as bad as Microsoft. Like, it's constantly doing updates.
Skype is like that too. It has been for a decade plus. I'm like, what the hell do you keep updating?
Nobody fucking uses Skype anymore.
I know.
Like, Skype was the thing back in the day. You remember No Agenda used to use Skype.
Oh, yeah.
And it had some issues. Occasionally, you'd have the squeaky sound.
The robotic voice.
Yeah, robotic voice or chipmunk voice as it was got desynchronized.
Yes.
But I don't know, man. At this point, for podcasts specifically, I'm a big fan of Zoom because my only real big complaint with Zoom is it's a Chinese company.
Right.
But the podcast is not secret internal meeting conversation to begin with. It's literally made to be distributed.
Yeah.
So we're literally, by using Zoom, picking up some extra listeners in China.
And that way there's more AIs listening and it's great.
Right? Exactly. I'm like, this is great. I don't mind this shit at all because it's being used for creating extra. Now, we are in Clean Feed today.
Yes.
But I am kind of trying to nudge Darren along into doing a test of Zoom.
Yeah, I don't mind trying Zoom. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I know since we last did a show, is this possible that both you and I have had hour-plus conversations with the great comic strip blogger?
Yes. Yeah, I was on the phone for like an hour.
The guy, he talks. He should be a podcaster because he talks for hours. I know.
At 125% speed?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that is the ironic thing. Is like, I encourage people to listen at 125%, but you got to remember, the reason I encourage that is because I don't speak all that fast. I speak what I consider a normal, comfortable pace. CSB speaks at 125% speed.
And I think you speak a little quicker on this show just to keep up than you do on Sergine Speaks. You have a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere there.
Sergine Speaks, I'm usually multitasking. So I'm like surfing the web while I'm doing the show recording or I'm doing something else.
The thing that I found most interesting, because what CSB is doing over at a domain that I own, so I'm kind of helping them out here where I can.
I see how that works.
NoAgendaGPT.com is that to make these little custom GPTs, you're feeding it the transcripts. And one thing I don't do on transcripts, but I know No Agenda does, is try to separate and mark when each individual is speaking. It has that tag. So it'll say,
seriously, you don't do that?
No,
really?
I never have.
Oh.
I never have. But the interesting thing is the AI figures out who's who, even on a text transcript. Which is very interesting to me because I figured, what this is going to do is it's going to be totally confused on what, Gene said and what I said or what Ryan said and what I said. No, it seems to be fairly good at knowing even from because all the AI system's getting here is the transcript. So it can't hear the voice. It's not like you're feeding it the audio.
I tried doing that. You can do that, but only if you're using the APIs, not using the little idiot version, the stupid.
Yes, the easy go in and show you very simply how to do it. It's great for people just getting into it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, for people who have never done it, it's like this is a fun way to get any idiot with the podcast that has transcripts can go in without any knowledge of anything and get this up and running, which is cool. Now, if you know what you're doing, you can go further.
The one thing that I did ask CSB he wasn't sure about is the AIs are woke, right? We know
very
that
much.
Certainly GPT is woke. So, and
somebody
if
just
the content
posted
of the podcast
this morning
is not woke.
Right. But somebody
then
just posted this morning all of the woke stuff in the prompts that's going on OpenAI, which is very interesting. Like if I can find the link again.
I'm sure it's not all the woke stuff, but
a lot.
But so the question I have is, okay, so what is it going to censor the podcast when you feed it the scripts when it's doing answers? It probably will. It would be an interesting test. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, on Sir Gene, I did an interview with a guy whose name is Niggerific Energy.
How do you spell that?
Exactly how you'd think you'd spell it. With an asterisk.
Right.
No, I spell it with asterisk. He doesn't because, he's allowed to. And now I am allowed to say it. I'm just not allowed to spell it. But I suspect that Chat GPT will just censor that completely.
It wouldn't surprise me because, again, it doesn't take things in context. And since it's a level...
Is there a context for that?
I think there is. I think it is a comedy for one, which, okay, there is.
Okay. Yeah. If you label something as comedic, it should just turn off the woke filter.
Well, it's probably not going to turn it off. But again, this concept that any use of that word in particular is the word that you don't want to say, that you want to use the asterisk for.
I don't even know what word you're talking about.
Don't even want it in my transcripts. Do not want it there. But there was a high school teacher at an all-girls Catholic high school here in Chicago that got fired because she made the comparison between the Washington Redskins
basketball players. What?
It was the saying, hey, if saying Redskins to somebody of Native American is the same as saying this word to a black person. And it was done in a academic setting. And I see this is where it all breaks down for me, is that if you can't teach your children, well, this is the word that's bad. If you can't even say it in the academic setting and it gets you fired, then we're fucked because
we are fucked. That's exactly right.
That's the problem. And when you start doing this, the AI, these large language models, and the image creation models, they can do anything. It is the fact that you had somebody adding another layer that's like, whoa. If somebody's asking for this, don't do it.
Like they literally have turned off Biden and Hitler, but they kept Trump.
Well, of course.
So you can make caricatures of Trump all you want, but you can't make them of Biden. And you can't have it create anything that references Hitler because it thinks you're going to glorify Hitler. It's the weirdest thing, and it's clearly humans that are making these rules. It's not coming up with them on its own,
right?
And,
because this was the first.
I can make Genghis Khan all I want, even though he killed more people.
Let's remember which AI was that was released. Was it the early Chat GPT that was immediately pulled because people were having it say the most racist stuff in the world? I mean, there was one of these that with the original iteration was like, whoa, because it immediately went all Nazi on people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was interesting because it's like left to its own devices. Even the machines are going to go all racist.
Well, clearly that machine was trained on conversations from inside of the Fediverse.
Probably. Because
that's where the majority of them are Nazi related.
Well, and this is the intriguing thing, is that once you have AI material feeding AI for which it's learning from to then create more, the amount of inaccuracies you would assume would continue to blow up unless somebody figures out a way to have a neural network or something that can actually fact check, which I don't think we're anywhere close to that, because this is not, as you said, this is not a thinking thing. It is I'm looking at the data that's out there.
Yeah, it's a statistical based system. So,
I mean, and it's a lot of fun that it can look at things.
Yeah.
When I put up bought the URL, noagendagpt.com, I'm like, you know what? I need to have something in order for the ChatGPT folks to confirm that I own it. So it's like, okay, I need a basic web page, just coming soon page sitting there. And I'm like, do I load up Dreamweaver? Do I go in and just code something by hand? I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm in ChatGPT. So I said, ChatGPT, I need a basic HTML page that says coming soon for this domain. Press the button and spits the code out.
Spit it right out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, that's fantastic. I mean, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't.
No, it's definitely not pretty.
But it was usable and it was immediate.
Yeah.
So for those things, I applaud it. But this is because it goes, hey, well, I know how to write code. I know all about the different HTML.
Yeah. It does know how to write code, just not the best code. That's all.
No. Well, see, but this is where the money will come in, is having, and this is what a lot of these custom GPTs, which is what Comic Strip Blogger's working in when he's uploading all of these transcripts. There are ones.
Are you allowed to say that? Is he giving you the permission to discuss this topic?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And because it's an exciting little foray. And I think just like Apple all of a sudden is doing transcripts, which whether people like them or not, now that Apple's providing transcripts, there will be a lot more podcasts who would have never done that on their own, who would have never gone through the extra step, because it is a pain in the ass.
I wonder if Apple's going to spell niggerific correctly.
I would hope so, because otherwise they are very racist. But the more transcripts that are out there, the more data that there is to feed into the AI. And I see at some point podcast hosts that will be offering this as a part of the deal, which is, hey, we will update your custom chat GPT. So anybody that has questions about your podcast could just go, and query them here, but we'll make sure it's updated with your latest transcripts and whatever else they're feeding into it.
I will say that the current version of GPT does not do a very good job of that. So I played around with the stuff that CSB created. I also made my own, and it gives extremely generic answers with fairly specific questions, which is not really what people would be looking for if they go to the trouble of using a GPT that is specifically tied to your podcast. So I think they've got a ways to go.
Yes.
To make that customization better. The other thing is, I think that the purely self-running, like not in the cloud, not using ChatGPT 4 language models will become more freely available as time goes on, and you'll be able to just run a fairly generic, pre-populated, GPT, for lack of a better word, agent that you have provided the custom links for it to learn from.
Right.
But you'll be able to do it without using ChatGPT proper, without using Amazon, without using any of these things. You can just literally run it on any host. Because my understanding is, and I could be incorrect in this, but my understanding is that the thing that takes a lot of processing power that they're using GPUs to do is the initial training. It's not the actual running of the queries. It's the training of the system, because it has to go through millions and millions of iterations.
Right. I believe that's
get
true.
Trained. Yeah. So you could train it, and then when you're done training it, offload it on a system that doesn't have the GPUs running, that doesn't have all the horsepower that you originally needed while you were setting it up.
Right.
And I think that's where, if I'm correct, I think that's why they'll become a lot more prevalent, because you'll just be able to get a copy of a pre-trained one in whatever language, in whatever political leaning you want. Somebody will have a liberal version trained. Somebody will have a conservative version trained without all the woke crap. And then you can just install that to use as you want. Now, I'm assuming all this shit's going to happen fairly soon, but I don't know if it may happen 3 months from now. It may happen 3 years from now.
Right. And what these custom things are doing basically is telling the brain, whatever that may be, look at this data first. So if I take all of the transcripts from Unrelenting and upload them, and then say, well, use that first. So look
Yeah.
to this data for the answer. And if he can't find it, then it'll go to outside of that.
Right.
Which is fine. And
Which is great. Yeah, that's what you wanted. But also, depending on who's doing your transcripting, you may have a lot of errors. There are certain companies, like, for example, Descript, which I mentioned earlier, they've been doing voice to text for over a decade now. They were one of the pioneers in this field. They're extremely accurate, but even they still occasionally will have the wrong word compared to what was said because a person has a weird accent or, for whatever reason.
It's even beyond that. One thing I've noticed doing the transcripts, and I use the Adobe software for it, is in every show, especially for random thoughts. And I understand it's never going to understand random thoughts. I get that. But on every episode, at the beginning and at the end, I say my name, Darren O'Neill. And quite often,
what Darren O'Neill is.
Right, Darren O'Neill.
Darren O'Neill.
The funny thing is, it quite often spells Darren and O'Neill differently at the beginning and at the end of the show.
That's bizarre.
And because this is where you get into problems with words. And then if you're looking for a name to associate something with, Darren, or it's a Darrin, and O'Neill can be spelled with one L or two L's or Neal.
Exactly. All of those variants, because the Irish don't know how to spell.
And they're all correct. They're all different variants. And I don't know.
Because they don't know how to spell.
Probably. Exactly. They drink a lot.
Yeah, it depends on the state of drinking that your spelling changes.
Yes, and how much you're slurring when you say Darren O'Neill.
Yes, the more L's you have in the name, and the more drinking was experienced prior to saying it.
But I'm curious how that affects these AIs too. When people are asking, does it see a Darren with a one L or two L's, Neill is a different person than Darren O'Neal when they show up, or is it smart enough to go, wait, this is probably the same person? Yeah. But I'm not sure if it does or not.
I trained Descript on my voice years ago, like 3 years ago. And so it has actually been smart enough to know who I am in listening to the podcast recordings since then automatically. But it's also now figured out who Ben is automatically, which is pretty cool.
Ben's going to have his name on a list.
Oh, he's had it on the list ever since we started doing a podcast. Hey, guess what you get to do now? You get to talk about National Bagel Day while I go downstairs and grab my bagel that's just been delivered.
Oh my goodness, it's National Bagel Day? Well, that I didn't know.
Yeah. We got notified of that actually like an hour ago on X, both of us.
And then you went to order bagels?
And I was like, shit, I need to order a bagel because I'm out of bagels and it's National Bagel Day. And I'm not going to be not eating a bagel
on National Bagel Day.
So you talk about that while I run downstairs and grab it.
I don't know what does one have to say about National Bagel Day, except, wow, what a holiday we have here. And now you know if you need to move a lot of product with Gene, just tell him it's National something day. Like, oh, yeah, it's National Iced Tea Day. And he'll be like, I have to buy more. He's always got the iced tea. But if you're looking to schlep some stuff off, it's exactly what you tell him. National Bagel Day. And you know what? There's not just going to be bagels. There's going to be bagels. They're going to be lox. Although I don't know, what do Austin bagels taste like? I'm pretty sure that the only real bagels come out of New York. And if he wasn't aware that it was National Bagel Day, he didn't have his bagel guy in New York pack up some bagels last night and overnight them. That would have been the only way to do it. The only way to do it well would have been to go to your bagel guy in New York and get those bagels sent to you, get some fresh lox, have yourself a delicious breakfast. I wonder if Gene ever actually goes out of the house. Everybody just comes and brings the stuff directly to him. Like, got your bagels. Oh, we hear the chair. The bagels are, there's the bag. You know, Gene, Austin bagels are not as good as New York bagels. You should have gotten with your bagel guy last night and had him airlift you some New York bagels. If they're not, why didn't you have your bagel guy in New York airlift you some real bagels?
Well, I mean, these aren't horrible, but it's because I didn't know it was Bagel Day. Nobody told me until this morning.
How dare they not tell you? I thought you would know just by your genetic makeup. Like, oh, it's National Bagel Day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, let's listen to that.
I got Einstein Brothers, which is
now I'm curious
one
if
of
you're
the better
listening,
ones from a chain perspective.
If you're listening to this show not live, if you don't hear any of that bag sound in the background, then the noise gates and the filters are doing.
There's no sound. What are you talking about?
Would be doing their job. I've heard nuclear wars that were quieter than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I could ask.
It's called theater of the mind for a reason.
Gene's having a bagel, everybody, because it's National Bagel Day. Did you get yourself a nice plain bagel, not bastardized? I'm assuming no raisins, no onion. Would you get onion in it? I like a good onion bagel.
I did actually get onion. That's a good guess. Yeah.
Oh.
Normally I like a poppy bagel, but the problem with poppy is you have to eat it over a plate.
And then you get your drug test because they think you've been to the Orient.
I don't care about that. Mm-hmm.
We all know about Elaine on Seinfeld and the poppy bagels.
Mm-hmm. It's a true story.
It's a true story.
Mm-hmm.
So did you get the lox? Do you have them on the bagel now? Are they good? Little sour cream. I mean, cream cheese rather.
Lox, cream cheese, onions, and capers.
Oh, and a little bit. What are you washing that down with?
Iced tea.
Oh, of course. One of the when is Iced Tea Day? National Iced Tea Day. I'm just curious. You would think
every day
is National Iced Tea Day at Gene's.
Yep.
I believe that. But the AIs are going to all be fun to watch where they go. As much as it's hard to put a lot of faith in that they're going to be good, especially because of all the woke stuff, I will say that the steps and strides that they have made over the last few years have been somewhat interesting. At first it was one of these things like, this is never going to turn into anything. And then you see the possibilities or some of the things that it can do. Wait, it's June 10th. That is National Iced Tea Day. Is that true, Ned? If so, we have to mark that on the calendar.
Yeah, we have to plan for that for sure.
Yeah. Everybody,
I'm not sure what'll be different because I drink iced tea every single day.
It is, in fact, National Iced Tea Day, June 10th, 2024. That means we would just have to send every listener to the show a bottle of iced tea. We can get you involved in that. It's on a Monday though, so that's a plan.
Yeah, how about every listener send us a bottle of iced tea? That sounds better.
It sounds easy. It definitely sounds logistically easier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go to the post office. That would be good.
Yes, Darren does not like that.
Oh, it's horrible.
To his wife.
Yeah, you always got to send somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way it works.
Hey, since we're not talking about it, I figured I'd change topic. I need to get more followers on X. I need to get to 500 so that I can turn on more of the streaming related features.
So if you want to go follow Gene, it is Sir Gene TX.
Don't give him a choice. Even if you don't want to follow Gene, just go to X.
Especially if you don't want to follow
TX. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Look, all you got to do is be on there for like 3 months. After that, I don't care. You can unfollow me. But right now, I'm like 100 followers away.
Here's though. I mean, are you not? Remember what CSB did. If somebody follows you for 3 months, you send them Bitcoin in the like $1 in Bitcoin. You will
send literally illegal according to the terms of service of X.
Don't mention it. Just talk about it on your podcast that nobody's listening to.
Right. Exactly. So, no, I would appreciate a follow on X. And again, I don't care if you want to undo it long term. I just need to get past 500 to turn on some more of the features. And of course, I had way more than that. I had like 6,000 people following me back when, which I know is still a tiny amount compared to some of these people, but it's more than I got now back when I got kicked off of Twitter. So I'm still in the process of redoing my X followers, I guess. That and then, of course, since I left the Fediverse, you know, that's where I was doing most of my posting, and I had like 2,300 people on there.
Well, come back to the Fedi. It's okay.
No, don't need to.
You still have time to transfer. You know, the interesting thing is, did you delete your account on No Agenda Social, or is it still sitting there?
I didn't do anything. It's probably still there.
Because then what we could do is we could just forward your account to mine, and I can have all of your followers.
Yeah, Ben already asked for that. So
was there a bidding war?
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I'm selling my Fediverse subscriber list to the top bidder.
I mean, the interesting thing is,
see, the problem is it would make no difference to you because
everybody
the people that
you
followed me also
me.
Followed you anyway.
Yeah. Now Ben, he's an unknown. You could charge
Ben
him.
has only got like 10 people following him, so
people would be like, Gene
probably
sure has
could
changed.
make use of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to get my own list off. And so as long as they leave that site up for another 6 days, I think I can try again.
Well, somebody said you should be able to export them, not just do a change follow.
You can't. You can't export them. Well, the people following you, you can't do. I exported my follow list and was able to, boom, I was following then everybody.
Well, that's like 6 people for me, so that's not a problem.
No, that was kind of the same thing here because being on No Agenda Social at the time, I never saw the big reason to follow everybody. It was kind of like,
same here.
You just pay attention.
Fuck them all.
You just look at everybody that's posting and you kind of follow it that way. But now that I'm on my own, I got to follow everybody in order to see them in the timeline, which is fine. But it is a different way of going about it because you don't really have a local timeline to watch. So
that's what basically disappeared is the local timeline. And honestly, that's the problem. And why I'm not back on there is because the local timeline at least was somewhat moderated. It had fewer Nazis on it. It still had plenty. Woo-hoo. Don't get me wrong, but few were compared to the federated timeline, which was like, it was basically an overlap of 90% 50-year-old guys with teenage Japanese avatars.
Isn't that the same on X?
With no clothes and Nazis. And so a lot of the Japanese avatars were wearing Nazi outfits.
Well, that's a culture clash.
Yeah, but it's a real thing because there are animes where they do wear Nazi uniforms.
True. I mean, there was a lot of Nazi talk on the Tucker Carlson, Vladimir Putin interview, and I watched the whole damn thing.
Well, good for you.
People give me crap. I didn't watch Idiocracy. Well, that was an hour and 15 minutes. I'll never get back that. I learned nothing. But at least the Putin interview was illuminating. And what was, I have to look
I'm glad you liked it.
It was, I don't like the folks like Bill O'Reilly, who I overall enjoy his news coverage. But he kind of poo-pooed the whole thing. Like, he thinks that Tucker should be able, he was against all of the crap Tucker was getting. He's like, because I'm a journalist. And I appreciate that because O'Reilly said, you know what? If I could have interviewed Hitler, I would. If I could have interviewed Mao, I would. So if you get the interview with any of these people, you would. He talked about Mike Wallace interviewing.
How about Osama bin Laden?
He's dead now, I think.
Is he?
Maybe. But he talked about Mike Wallace interviewing the Ayatollah Khomeini back in the day. And it's like, if you get the opportunity to do the interview, you do it. You don't go, well, no, we can't. But with that said, O'Reilly's like, I don't know what you're going to glean from it because Putin's just going to sit there and lie. And it's like, well, I would rather you break down what he said than as a post-mortem and tell us where he lied, where he was misleading, and where the guy has I think exactly what Tucker Carlson said was an encyclopedic knowledge of the history of Russia.
It sounds funny when I hear that because literally every Russian person there has the exact same knowledge. It's just that to an American mind, it's astonishing that anybody would know anything about 1,000 years of history.
Right.
Because Americans don't learn European history in school. That's
we don't learn our own history in school now.
It's hard enough for Americans to know 250 years of American history. They couldn't imagine knowing some other country's history. And for 1,000 years, are you kidding? No way.
Like, not going to happen.
But that's part of standard history education. And so there was nothing that Putin said that was like not something any random person on the street walking around in Russia wouldn't have known.
Way more
It's
knowledgeable
basic history.
than the average American citizen. I don't think that's much of a surprise.
I don't think that's in dispute.
No.
About pretty much every topic: math, science, history. All Russians have to be bilingual, so almost everybody knows English or German or French. Here, you're lucky to find some people that know Spanish, but only because their grandma speaks Spanish.
I did think it was interesting that because I'm guessing that Vladimir speaks English. I understand why he would.
He does, but he's got a pretty thick accent in English. And I think he doesn't like being made fun of his poor English.
Right.
So
well, just
he
like
uses a translator.
Yeah, just like the people made fun of the way Melania Trump speaks English, and it's like her sixth language.
Right. Exactly. She may have been a model, but she's not dumb.
No. I mean, I have problems learning a second language. So anybody that can do that, I mean, maybe it just takes an extra special type. There's something in your DNA that makes that easier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did that, was that interview released? I'm guessing not, without the dubbed voice over. Because I'd be curious as somebody who understands Russian, if it, I'm always curious on how the translation, especially
it was
when
an
somebody
exceptionally good translation.
Well, that's good. That's good to know.
It was really good. I was telling this to a buddy of mine last night that, I'm pretty good at doing real-time translating from Russian to English. Like I've done that a number of times. This was next level. This is way better than what I would have been able to do in translating real time.
Well,
this was of the quality of translation that if somebody wrote a book and then somebody had like months to translate the book.
Oh, wow.
To make sure everything's correct. That's that level of real-time translation that we heard.
Because I was wondering if it was actually the real time that Tucker was getting fed to him, or they could have gone, although they only had hours to do it, if, for somebody else to dub that in.
Tucker was there for 5 hours. Putin showed up 2 hours late.
So he's like Biden.
He is. He is very stereotypical. Everybody knows Putin's always late to everything. He was late to the Ukraine war as well.
But he sat there for
in 2014.
Yeah, right. Well, right.
But I'm pumped. But so Tucker was there for 5 hours. Putin showed up 2 hours late. They started talking. Interview went for about 2 hours, 15 minutes. And then Putin left. And then Biden hung out there for another 45 minutes, ate some food, and then went back to his hotel.
You mean Tucker? You said Biden.
Sorry, Tucker. Yeah. I meant Tucker, of course.
Biden was Biden. There. We had a whole different thing going on.
Wrong camera I was looking at. Sorry. Tucker went back to his hotel.
But I thought it was interesting that the ending of the interview was Vladimir Putin going, so are we done here now? Or is there anything else? You got anything? Yeah. It's like, okay.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Tucker said like 20 minutes earlier, I have one final question for you.
And then it spiraled from
there. And then
he
kept asking more and more and more and more questions. So I think good luck interviewing an American president where you as the journalist get to set the timeline for how long you're talking. Right. It ain't going to happen because they pull off, and it's not just Biden. It's the same thing with Trump, same thing with Obama, same thing with Bush. The handlers will pull them off and make them unavailable as soon as the time's expired or as soon as the topic is something they don't want to talk about.
Right. So this, you have to give Putin credit for sitting for it, spending that kind of time.
Yeah.
The presidential interviews here, way different. And there are the Super Bowl, of course, this weekend. Mm-hmm. The only good interviews before the Super Bowl with the presidents. And of course, Biden not doing one.
Not doing it. Yep.
The ones that O'Reilly did, and they're up on YouTube, I'm sure. If you look for the O'Reilly and Biden, not Biden, O'Reilly, because Biden won't do it. If you look for
Biden, Biden interviews.
Right. If you look for Obama and O'Reilly, and you look for Trump and O'Reilly Super Bowl interviews, I give Obama a lot of credit for sitting through those because O'Reilly was not giving him puffball questions. And he was able to handle it where Biden can't at this point, and if he ever could. But at this point, Biden does not have the capacity.
No, mental facilities at all. Yeah, exactly.
He is not sparring. One of the interesting thing I did glean from the Putin interview was when the younger Bush was mentioned. Putin was like, yeah, this guy knew what he was doing. Don't let, this is, all a bunch of, crap.
That was funny because we all kind of know that. I mean, those of us that follow politics know that. But to have Putin say that, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, people don't give him the credit. It's like, and again, it's because of the way he talks and we understand that. And
yeah,
I think he played into it.
Totally. I agree. I think he totally played into it.
Which Reagan did too. I mean, Reagan played into that. Just nice old Ronnie.
Yeah. Well, you remember that Saturday Night Live skit that they did of Reagan, where what's his face was Reagan, the guy whose wife killed him,
Phil Hartman,
and he's like, well, I'm doing, and then as soon as the door closes, all right, George, go grab the general, blah blah blah. We got to figure out this situation in Libya. Like he's instantly straightens his back. He's no longer this old man that's just barely there.
Right.
And I think that what Putin was implying, which probably is quite true, is that that's exactly what Bush was like. Yeah.
Not the fool that everybody thought, but it's easier because then people are going to just go in a different direction. It's interesting because they did the similar thing with Trump, which is before he was elected and all this. Well, he's an idiot. And then he's a mastermind. It's like, well, which is it? You can't.
Yeah. The mastermind idiot.
Yes. That's a good show title right there. Mastermind idiot or idiot mastermind or whichever way you want to do it. But absolutely. And I don't know if I learned much else. Now I'm curious if
124 million views on Tucker so far on just the main and on his own.
And I downloaded it from the one you sent me, which was somebody else's X channel.
Which was somebody else's. So, and that one was also in the millions. And I think if you add up what's on YouTube, what's on X, what's on Tucker's own page, which, by the way, this definitely got me to subscribe to Tucker. So now I'm paying for Tim Pool and for Tucker.
Wow, this was impressive enough, huh?
Somebody's got to cover his airfare, right?
I think he's doing okay.
Well, he is now. I mean, now that I'm subscribed.
Now that you're subscribing and you're giving him the full Gene backing, now things will go
just
up.
Like Tim Pool, $5 a month.
Not bad. It adds up pretty quick.
Yeah. So I think he's probably well over the 125 million that he's got just on X. My prediction is this thing will be seen in the first week by about 300 million people, which is awesome history lesson of Russian history for 300 million people.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Bill O'Reilly said Tucker Carlson is a marketing genius. He's like, I suck at marketing compared to what Tucker Carlson can do.
Oh, at least he admits the truth.
Yeah, which he does overall. I mean, he has the ego, but he sat down. His was like an hour that he did with Tucker Carlson. I thought was pretty interesting as well. But the question that they got into at the end about the journalist, you could put that in air quotes if you'd like, depending if you think he was a journalist or a spy, that is being held by Russia. I thought that took some balls.
You can be both.
Yeah.
Those are not mutually exclusive. In fact, an awful lot of spies are journalists.
Because you get to travel. You're like, what are you here for? Journalist.
Yeah.
I thought it took a lot of balls if this was not a pre-okayed question to be sitting in Moscow with Vladimir and be like, so you're going to release this guy?
Yeah.
And I think
Putin handled it very, very nicely.
Yes.
He didn't just say, what are you, nuts? Of course not.
Well, did you
He said, look, this is not beyond the realm of possibility. We just have to let the people that negotiate do negotiations.
Yes. Now, but go back and listen to Tucker ask the question. The first thing you get from Vlad was, It was one of those like, this is okay, but I thought that was quite telling. And unless Vlad, a lot of people think Vlad is just another one of these guys that can, whether it's lying, whether it's acting, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But watching him, and again, I'm not a body language expert or any of this, but he fakes sincerity really well. If that's fake, and maybe it is.
Yeah, I think that I think he's in a position where he doesn't have to fake diddly shit. I mean, it doesn't matter. He can be completely honest about stuff without faking anything because it's not going to affect him. Like, there's no benefit for him to exert himself to the point of faking anything.
Yes. I
think what you see is what you're getting.
Well, it was quite interesting that, the USSR fell.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Putin wanted to get involved with the world community. It sounds like he wanted to be a part of NATO. And it's like, so why was this poo-pooed by everybody else? Why was this rivalry intentionally kept going even after the fall of the Soviet Union?
Yeah, and I think he hit it right on the head. So this is, I was quite happy and with the interview because the every one of the points that Putin made during this interview is something that I discussed in the last 2 years, either on the podcast or on Nojin Social.
Ooh,
so I'm glad that my script draft made its way all the way out there, and then they coached Putin on the right things to say. I'm not saying I wrote the script. I'm just saying I'm happy to see it properly executed. But it's. I don't think that the American audience got everything because it was obvious by looking at Tucker, who looked like he was confused half the time.
He always does. Even I noticed that when he was doing the O'Reilly interview.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That some of the stuff, like, I don't know if he's getting what Putin's laying out there. It's it may not be. It may be just the way Tucker looks like he's always confused, but maybe he actually is always confused. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It might help his interviewing style.
Yeah. Well, also, he clearly is not used to long form interviews like the sort of Joe Rogan, one person talks for 3 minutes, then the next one talks for 10 minutes style. Tucker's more used to the TV news. You ask somebody a question, they have 1 minute to answer, then you go back and you ask another question for 10 seconds, then they have another 30 seconds to answer that.
I think he's getting better.
That's not what Putin was doing, obviously. He was in a conversation much more. God, that would be a fun one to have Rogan interview him.
Yes. Oh, I would.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be a pay-per-view.
Rogan would be like, have you ever taken psilocybin? Now, do you think ayahuasca might be the key to more people believing in aliens? What do you think, Putin?
Be like, are you high by any chance? It was interesting. I mean, a lot of the religious talk, which not a lot of people in the United States see Russia as a religious country, which I think is completely wrong.
A lot more religious than the U.S. is, that's for sure.
Well, the U.S. has fallen off of a cliff during my lifetime. I mean, it wasn't great when I was born, 1970, but it's gone off of a cliff since then and has continued to get worse as far as, what people believe. And once people stop, again, there's a lot of religions which are probably bad, but once people have no faith in anything, once it's like, well, this is it no matter what, there's no penalty after this, there's no afterlife. A lot of people just do what they are doing in this country now when people aren't being prosecuted. It's like, if I can go out in the street and hit somebody in the head with a brick, or if I can go sexually assault somebody, it's like, well, I'm not going to get punished. Why not? These are the things that all of a sudden cause a culture to crater because you don't have law and order if you don't enforce the laws. But I think that Tucker's getting better at his interview style. And what I saw, some of the people on the left, they're like, oh, he's nothing but Putin's lapdog. He let him just sit there and give a monologue. And it's like, well, what else do you do? I mean,
That's called a good interview.
Yes.
When you let somebody speak and you don't constantly interrupt him, which is what I don't like about Pierce Morgan and
just
his
got
style
fired.
of interviewing, which is constantly arguing with the person you brought in, because you'll ask him a question. The person will literally just start answering it 15, 20 seconds in. Pierce Morgan. Yes, but what I'm really just talking about, it's like, dude, just shut the fuck up. You're the interviewer. Your job is to ask a question and then sit and listen. It is not to get into a verbal debate with the person that you're interviewing.
What's why he got fired? He's going all YouTube now. Piers.
Oh, he got fired again? No,
Yeah.
he's still on BBC.
No, he just got let go again, like today.
When?
Like
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking A. Well,
I just saw
mean,
this.
that's probably good. What I didn't realize about Pierce Morgan is he's lived in the U.S. for 20 years.
He's a
Do you know
bad American. He's not even a good Brit anymore.
He's not a good at anything as far as I'm concerned. I guess he does have some topics that he's correct on, but I really don't like his style.
It is a little more abrasive, but it's very British, I think.
It demonstrates low IQ is what it is.
But I don't understand the complaints when you let somebody talk too much, because one, when you're dealing with somebody like Putin, who is a world leader at the level that he is, one, he doesn't have to do the interview at all. Two, it could be a half hour and you're done. So letting him set the pace is going to get you the most information out. And as you and I know, the more you get somebody to talk, the more likely, I mean, if you think they're going to slip or let something out, the more they talk, the more likely that
it'll happen. Exactly. Hey, speaking of talking, I'm going to plug Sergine Speaks at this point.
Is that show still around?
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, I can't believe that. Episode number 3 is coming up soon.
Episode number 3. I think it's episode 130 something now.
Oh, nice.
But it's, I just interviewed yesterday a woman who is running for the U.S. Senate as a senator from California. And so that interview should be up on Monday.
You have a lot of editing
and I guess
to do.
You can critique my interview style, but I'd say it was fairly similar to what you saw with Tucker, in that I would ask a question and shut the hell up and let her answer it in as long a way as she wanted to. It's an interesting interview, and she is a Korean American, meaning she was born in Korea and then immigrated to the U.S., and she has a fairly thick accent. And I didn't pussy out. I actually did ask her as one of my questions about her accent, and is that a problem for her running, or does she think it's a problem for her running? Because I think it is a problem. I think that there are a lot of people in the U.S. who, upon having a more difficult time understanding somebody due to their accent, are just automatically going to turn that off. That's just reality. She didn't seem to think it would be as big an issue, but I'll let people judge that listen to the episode and see what they think. But I think somebody, even if they have the best ideas, if they can't be well understood, and this is where Vivek is doing a great job because he has perfect English. But I think somebody like his parents, for example, who were the actual immigrants to the U.S. with an accent, even if they had the identical ideas to Vivek, I think would be not perceived as nearly as successfully.
Oh, yeah. Packaging is a huge thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it took like 100 years for the Irish to be able to be understood.
Well, and we've noticed that once the technology was there, where the presidential debates were happening on television rather than solely on radio, or before that, just having to read the transcripts, the look of the president, I mean, Kennedy versus Nixon was very clear cut. You know, it's not just the females.
And the fact that they put talcum powder on Kennedy and didn't on Nixon made Nixon look like he's sweating the whole time.
It's like, well, we have the look is very important more than the ideas. Unfortunately, that's just the way the human brain operate is, oh, you see an attractive person, whatever that is to you, you're going to have a higher opinion of them.
And this is why the 19th Amendment should have never been passed.
It's Sir Gene at SirGeneSpeaks.com. He's no longer on the Fed. He was run right off the Fediverse. But I asked people in a very scientific poll and got 76 people to respond, which for unrelenting, I mean, No Agenda only gets like 500 people to respond to their polls.
Yep.
76 people on the text was, settle the score for unrelenting. Which movie is a better comedy? And the choices
Which, of course, much like the Democrats, is leading question.
Of course.
Because it's not a comedy, it's a documentary.
Right.
That should have been your question.
Well, they're both documentaries.
Which movie is a better documentary? You would have had a totally different result.
We had the choices I gave, of course, Idiocracy, The Blues Brothers, and Who Listens to Unrelenting? Which I was surprised only 14% answered Who Listens to Unrelenting. Only 11 of the 76 were like, who listens to that show? But we had...
That's a good question.
It was a much closer contest than I would have expected. 41% Idiocracy, 45% Blues Brothers. So very close.
And I would be in the Blues Brothers category on that, because as far as comedies go, Blues Brothers is a better comedy. But as far as documentaries go, obviously it's not Blues Brothers.
It could be. Could be about two guys on a mission from God.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it's kind of what Unrelenting is, isn't it? Just two guys.
No, Unrelenting is basically just like Seinfeld.
From God. We're like
Seinfeld from God.
On a mission from God, right?
Yeah, Seinfeld on the mission from God, exactly.
But it was a lot closer than I thought it would be. And I get it. Idiocracy did a great job of making a point. I just felt that point was made about 15 minutes in, and we could have skipped the next hour. It was like if it was a Saturday Night Live bit or SNL TV back in the day, if it was a short bit, like 15 minutes, it would have been great. It's kind of like you take a short bit and turn it into a movie. There have been a few of those, especially from SNL. Yeah. Wayne's World was one of the few that didn't feel like it was horribly... That movie,
I thought it was way worse. That did not need to be a movie. I thought Wayne's World was...
The first one was
really
okay.
Just... you just like Tia Carrera, that's all.
Well, I mean, I forgot for a moment that she was in it. But yeah, she was fairly attractive in that.
Yeah, she was still in her 20s at the time.
Party on.
Unlike Mike Myers, who's already in his 40s.
Excellent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We are not worthy.
And Dana White, who was already like 50. So... It's not Dana White. Dana
Carvey.
What's his name? Carvey. Yeah. Dana White is a different guy.
Well, I just like that they filmed. MMA. I mean, it was also for me, Wayne's World was at the right time, and a lot of the exterior scenes were filmed out here in Chirac. And I worked at a Radio Shack that was literally like 4 or 5 blocks down the street from where that Indian on top of the building is that you see in Wayne's World. That's a real thing. And it's been there forever. And it was originally like a cigar shop. And then it turned into like an optometrist. And it was great because they left the Indian on the building, because why would you take it down?
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see those landmarks. Like, yeah, I know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the comedy I thought was...
But Wayne's World is really more of a... Like, if it was done today, it would be about YouTubers.
Right.
Because that's kind of what it is.
It is.
You know, public access television, you'd have to really be into television to understand what it was, to have ever watched it, because most people have never watched it.
Public access TV, especially. Nobody, like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. So,
nobody
I was on a show on public access TV, but, you know, most people never heard of it.
It's like a lot of people don't, I mean, it probably still exists. That for your local area, you know, there's probably a studio somewhere, like, you want to do a show, just show up. You're on, man. There's been crazy stuff on public access, but this was long before people could just do it themselves. And this is, you know, ties into the Tucker Carlson thing, which is, it's interesting now to see where journalism is going. because the corporate media, so if you're on CNN, you're on MSNBC, any of the networks, Fox, this is all being bought and paid for by sponsors. And it's quite likely that if your biggest sponsor doesn't like the way you cover a story, they may not be your biggest sponsor anymore.
Yeah.
Where having individuals, now you would normally think, well, Tucker Carlson, maybe he's a fringe example because he already had fame, but a lot of people feel like the individual journalists who are doing their own show on YouTube or posting things on X or wherever, that they don't have the resources to compete. And while that may be true, the lack of having the advertisers to answer to makes a huge difference on what you can and cannot put out.
Oh, yeah. And this is something that Tim was talking about on his show about a week ago. I think he had somebody on that was asking him about, well, you're still beholden to your advertisers. And he's like, well, not really, because over half our shows, the advertiser is us advertising our own coffee. And even that, all the ad revenue represents a small portion compared to the people that are making direct donations to us. So really, they're doing the value for value model with some advertising, and it's not a pure value for value model, but it's most of their revenue is coming from people like me that are donating, $5-10 a month or 100 or whatever. It's not from the ad money that they get for shilling products. And the biggest product they do shill is their own coffee brand.
Right. Like that, we have ponchos here. We're shilling jeans, ponchos. Just go to Amazon.
Not anymore. Not anymore. We're not shilling those.
The link is still in the show notes. How many ponchos overall did you sell?
And you can take the link out.
I was going to say, more importantly, how many ponchos do you have left?
Yeah, I have a lot left, but I'm only the only ones that are still selling on Amazon is what they have in stock. I'm not shipping anymore over to Amazon. So that's the experiment has been concluded.
It's successful or unsuccessful?
Obviously not.
Since there's no new things going up. Well, this is the problem because Amazon actually wants to take more of your money.
Yeah, exactly. So screw them. In fact, I was flipping channels on the YouTubes yesterday, on the computer or whatever yesterday, watched something on Amazon Prime, and it said, brought to you with limited commercials. I'm like, what? What is this commercials bullshit? And sure enough, Amazon Prime has decided to now have commercials. Now they didn't start charging less all of a sudden. No, they just added commercials in and give you the option to pay $36 to remove the commercials.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. I really never watched.
I thought, there's a lot more places shipping for free these days. So I'm not even sure I need Prime. So I'm canceling my Prime renewal on Amazon because instead of paying them more and more, when it started, Prime was like $49 for the year. It's now $149 plus $36 if you don't want to watch advertising in your Prime Video. So it's pushing $200 a year. I think by getting rid of Prime, I will both reduce my bill because I'll buy less shit on Amazon. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to drastically impact my cost of goods because Walmart will ship shit for free and it's pretty much same products.
But doesn't Walmart have a thing now too where you pay for Amazon Prime type thing as well?
They might, but last few times I checked on there and I put orders in, it's free delivery and you pay if you want it like 2 day. If you want it, quickly, then you can pay. If you don't care when it shows up, then it's free.
The one thing I do like about the Amazon Prime would be with their branded Visa card. And if you're buying from Amazon and you don't have their branded Visa card, you're missing out.
Yeah.
Because they give you 5% back on everything. So that adds up.
Yeah, which is significant. That's definitely significant. Yeah.
And my parents, again, I'm basically the intermediary, just like when CSB wants to launder money. My parents, it's like they don't want to go online and do all the ordering. So I set them all up with the subscribe and save and everything else. So for certain things, if you're buying a lot of stuff from them, it makes sense. Their pricing is usually fairly competitive, though I have run into things where if you're not paying attention, it's quite possible that Walmart had stuff cheaper, or you can buy it at Costco for cheaper or whatever.
Yeah, it's the point being that they're no longer disrupting the marketplace. The marketplace has adjusted to Amazon now. And so you're not going to be in a situation where, oh my God, something on Amazon is 25% cheaper than some other store.
And it's interesting.
It's just not the case anymore.
Well, it's interesting to me because I've had this happen with pizza places around here, which I was fine to go around the way it's always been and order my pizza, and I could look at the Val Pack or those things that, you get in the mail to get your coupon for $3 off. A couple different pizza places with their, hey, become a part of our club and you'll get all the great stuff. The club thing.
It's National Pizza Day today.
I thought it was National Bagel Day.
It is both.
It's national. So it should be National Pizza Bagel Day.
I mean, I'm going to send you the link on X right now.
I mean, I believe you.
It sounds to me like you have to order pizza right now.
Right now. Right now. The clubs that they started, their little, hey, frequent buyer things, which they didn't have to do. I would have been happy. I would have kept buying. I didn't care. I didn't want a frequent buyer club to be a part of my life. I didn't care. They started it and then ran that so poorly, I stopped buying from them. This Amazon thing appears to be the same thing to me. Nobody fucking said, give me Amazon Video. They added it as part of the perk. If you could no longer add it as part of the perk, they would have been better off getting rid of it.
As part of the perk and bumped the price up. So yes, they added it for quote unquote free while also doing a significant price increase that same year.
And they're not offering you don't want the video?
You can't break the video out of it. You can't buy the video separately. Either you have Prime Video or you don't have Prime Video. And you know what? I get HBO and Max for free already.
Your Russian guy get you that? You got one of those? You got the guy show up to do the cable box?
My AT&T guy gets me that because AT&T owns them, and now I get it for free.
It's like in that Seinfeld episode where the guys show up to put in the box, and then everything goes poorly. Gene gets everything for free.
The boxes steal everything. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you just have to hit the side of the box. That's all.
It's fine. It's absolutely fine. But I find it interesting when companies do that. And they're like, hey, we're going to add this to make it better. And then that's what makes you go, no more.
Yeah.
I've had enough. I've never really watched any of the Amazon Video stuff. Maybe that's just because piracy is way too easy. And with the prices going up and everything here, with the Hulu prices going up now, and because we haven't had Netflix in years, although I think the wife uses like
Pedoflix.
Right. Yeah, Pedoflix. We have had Hulu because that is, for me, again, as somebody who had cut the cord, it's a lot easier because they had, I don't know.
That has ads.
Not the version we have. No ads.
Oh, so you're actually paying and not stealing it?
Correct. For Hulu. Wow. And that was fine because
that would be the last thing I would pay for is Hulu, because all of those shows are totally available, because Hulu is just a conglomerate of Disney, NBC and ABC.
Right. And that was, rather than download. And now
owned by Disney, incidentally.
For the longest time, it was, if it was a CBS show, I had to download it allegedly to watch it. And I'm like, I don't like doing that for every show. Granted, I could have probably set up a script or something.
Yeah, but you can get CBS Plus.
And, right. If they were all together, though, that would be a lot easier. But for the NBC, ABC, and Fox shows, you could just go to Hulu the next day and watch them. So it was a convenience. But when the prices keep going up and now they're threatening this, you can't share accounts. Well, my parents have been using my Hulu account because I don't watch it a lot. The minute that comes up, no, you can't watch in two different locations. I'm like, but fuck you. It's the same family. And I know there are ways to get around it.
Family. It's all bullshit. I mean, the
whole concept is right now with video watching, most people are going to be on different networks all the time because you might be watching it on the home Comcast or whatever you have, and the kids up in their bedroom could be streaming it through your AT&T account on their phone. So having multiple IP addresses in one location is not hard to believe. Now, I understand if you have like 18 different locations watching at once, then you might want to look at it.
Well, yes, but I think it's a hard point to argue when you're technically doing something that's against terms of service to begin with.
Correct, but there's always ways around.
Because the terms of service have always said that the login is for the person paying the bill. That's always been in terms of service.
Well, that changed with the Hulu and Netflix to one location.
Yeah. Yeah. But they've eased things up essentially. They went slightly in your direction from where they were originally. It's just that originally they never enforced it. And so people just assumed, well, it's not a big deal. They don't care about it. So I might as well share it with all my friends and relatives and everybody else because who cares?
Well, but here's the thing.
Now they start caring and people are up in arms like, what is this bullshit? I should be able to share it with anybody I want to.
Within reason, again, what about people like John C. Dvorak and his wife who live in different locations, it would appear, in different states?
They should have 2 accounts.
So, like, no, it's a family account.
No, it's not a family. If you can afford to live in 2 different places, you can afford 2 accounts.
Okay, what if you go on vacation for 6 months to Mexico? Do you have to buy another
account? Then you should use a VPN back to your own house.
This is the possibility. And that's one of the things.
I mean, let's put it this way. You're lucky I'm not running these channels because that's exactly what it would be enforced.
You sound like a Russian dictator, Gene.
No, I sound like a businessman.
Like I said, you sound like a Russian dictator.
Well, you're sounding like a communist right about now.
Woo! Now, the NordVPN allows you to do just that. I've never tried this, but Nord lets you do exactly that, which is have a connection from your house. So once I set this up, I can set it up on the other end at my parents' house. So if they want to watch Hulu, it's going to stream it through my IP address.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good ad for NordVPN you got there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's...
Use coupon code Sir Gene.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I had it set up for NordVPN. I think they rejected me.
Really? I thought they let everybody in.
Except for Sir Gene, apparently.
They're like, you sound Russian. Can't have that.
Well, I might have been going through my VPN from Moscow when I applied to get their.
Yes, please, comrades.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's always funny. I don't use or shill any of these VPN things. I use my own, but the whole point of a VPN was to do that, was to, when you're not where you normally are, to be able to come back into your company's network, to be able to use things that explicitly only allow your company while you're physically there to access them. That was the original intent of VPN. It was not to circumvent Netflix or to be able to have people in one country watch videos from another country.
Right.
Those are all like future created reasons for having VPNs.
Because
and maybe they're even a greater reason these days.
Nobody even thought of the fact that there might be a Netflix that says
that's different.
Right. If you're in the UK, you get to watch these shows. If you're in the United States, you get to watch these shows. It's very weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just by switching the IP address, you have the same account. It's not like you have to get a British account. It's kind of interesting to see how that has all played out, and still why there are things like blackouts with Major League Baseball, and the way people watch sports now that aren't tied to a terrestrial television station. I don't even understand why there
Wasn't that a crazy time when they used to block sports on the local channels?
Yes.
And like either you had to buy a ticket to show up or you don't see the game.
One of the worst was the old man Wirtz who ran the Blackhawks here up until his kids only took it over like 10, 15 years ago, right before they start getting good. When the old man ran the show, that was exactly how it was. You could not watch Blackhawk home games because if it wasn't sold out, they would not air it on television because they figured that if it was on TV, that's somebody that's not walking in the door, buying a hot dog and a beer. And it was very weird. I mean, it's very I could go watch somebody else's team. That would be okay. It didn't seem to make sense. And it hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
But I had
I understand the rationale for it, but it's a very monopolistic kind of rationale. It's like, well, I got to sell out my stadium first, so therefore you don't get to watch it on TV.
Yes. And I had a class when I was in college. So this had to be like somewhere between 88, 90, 92, somewhere in there, where the professor thought at some point you weren't going to even have to pay to go to sporting events because the technology was going to be so good. Everybody was going to want to watch on TV. It was going to be a much better experience. And they were going to have to start.
And I think it is, honestly.
For racing, yes, especially. Football, probably. Baseball depends where you sit, but even then.
Yeah, it depends. Okay, that's always the asterisk is if you get to sit on the 50-yard line 2 rows up.
Yeah.
Or you get, I mean, there are areas within the stadium that are extremely expensive and generally unavailable to the average schlub that, yes, those are better than sitting at home. But for most people, you're going to have a much better view sitting at home and watching than you are at a stadium for any event.
Yes. And he thought it was going to get to that point to where
and for WNBA, much better because you'd probably be watching Netflix instead.
Probably anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he thought it would get to the point to where they would pay people to come to the events because they still wanted a crowd. Although now I think you just AI the crowd in. You could just use all the TV
and I
magic.
think the sports teams during COVID got used to having empty stadiums too.
Well, yeah. And then they also, the oddity was, at least with baseball, I don't know what everybody else did, but they started doing the cutouts in the seats. So it looked like they were kind of people. And then they added in crowd noise over the speakers, which very surrealistic, or for surreal, not surrealistic. That would be a type of art.
Yeah, it's almost dystopian.
Yes. It's like everything's fake. Nothing is real.
Mm-hmm.
Soon the players will also be machines or AI. Don't worry about it. It's a weird world.
Well, apparently there's going to be Alex Jones is going to have David Icke debating Elon Musk on his show.
That would be interesting. You're going to sell you'll sell a lot of boner pills.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So at this point, it's no longer in the running, so I could talk about it, but I actually applied to be Alex Jones COO about a month ago.
Wow.
And went through some interviews, but they did not pick me.
I wonder why. Was it the beard?
Bastards. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I didn't get the job, so now I can talk about it. But I think it would have been really fun if I would have gotten that job because I'd be basically running Alex Jones' company.
Well, you would know all about boner pills and
I do. And that's why I can't believe they didn't bring me in because I actually ran a supplement company for about a year, a little less than a year, that, did tens of millions of dollars worth of sales. So I'm well versed in the market for boner pills and other supplements.
A lot of people don't know that your business card says Gene Neptuliev boner pill expert.
I know, right? Exactly.
Or just boner pill tester. Is that what it says?
They wouldn't. No, that's what yours says, I think. Yeah. And, I don't talk about my business stuff a whole lot because it's not interesting. It's not as interesting as the topics that we actually do discuss. But since we're talking about Alex Jones, I figured I'd throw that in there. My disappointment is coming through, hopefully, on that, because I think it would have been really fun to come in there and really get that company going and, making money way more than they have been. And maybe even pay off that $1 trillion that Alex owes.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, in 6 months, when you see his new COO being led away in handcuffs, you'll be like, I am so happy they didn't hire me.
I don't know about that because I think, if it happens, then maybe they'll actually call me again.
Right. It's hard to say. We need the backup to the backup.
I know, but I do know that Alex Jones has seen my resume at least, so it's he knows what I'm capable of.
That sounded very Putin-esque. He knows what I'm capable of. Huh. That's just like when CSB said you need to eliminate Bemrose. I'm like, you're going to have to be way more specific with your wording on this.
You need to eliminate Bemos.
Yeah. Speaking of CSB, he is our one and only donor today.
Oh, my God. Nobody else donated? That's horrible.
Nobody else donated. Nobody else boosted. Nobody else boostagrammed. It's all CSB all the time. And it's even
I'll
worse.
tell you,
because
as long as people come in and follow me on X, that they have a pass for not donating for today's show. But you got to follow me on X.
you have to. Sir Gene TX.
So CSB sends some sats. How much?
9,700, which means the Bitcoin must really be up because he's going at like 450 per donation. And that was like 1,100 just a week ago. So if it's 9,700 now, Bitcoin is up.
Is at $45,000 per Bitcoin right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally in the green here. It might be time to sell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But of course, CSB wants to do an ad, and not even for a good show that's on like right here. He's not talking about us. He says, howdy, comrades, Gene and Darren. If you are an American, or you are interested in Black American culture and experiences in history, then I recommend the podcast Mo Facts with Adam Curry. You can find it at www.mofacts.com. The hosts, Mo and Adam Curry, provide their perspectives and insights on various subjects, some of which intersect with aspects of Black American culture and history. Yo, CSB. That sounded very ChatGPT written.
That did sound ChatGPT written, but I'll tell you what, if you actually are interested in that topic, what you just really ought to do is listen to Sir Gene Speaks podcast with Niggerific Energy on there, who is, as you can probably guess, a Black person.
I was not going to make that guess. I was not going to assume anything.
I know. It's amazing, right? You shouldn't assume. So I did an episode with him that is currently up. And then I recorded another episode with him yesterday. So there'll be an episode 2 and we have episode 3 planned. So if you're interested in a podcast with a white dude and a Black dude talking about stuff, I suggest Sir Gene Speaks is a pretty good one to subscribe to.
Well, especially because I think that Mo Facts with Adam Curry is coming to an end after episode 100, which is only a couple of episodes from now. So you could just merge right into that space.
Oh, well, hell, I should just take over their RSS feed then.
Right? You could probably, if Adam Curry's listening, we've got
Adam Curry never listens to this podcast. Come on, let's be real.
Gene is willing to trade you some very expensive wine so he could just start adding his shows. He'll be like, nobody will notice. They all look alike.
Anybody wouldn't know.
They all look alike. They all sound alike. Oh my
God, you are like the primo racist here. Holy shit. I can't believe you think all white people look alike.
I do. Well, except you don't have the hair that
you're colorblind, aren't you?
No.
I could tell you're colorblind.
I am. That is one thing I don't have with the eyes.
Yes. Well, I am definitely colorblind. I don't see color. I just see like men and women, not anything else.
Well, this is where things are going to get very interesting when you keep getting pushed with all of this division stuff. I've been saying that for a while. When you start pushing people to the point where it's like, well, what is more important to you? Is it the color of your skin? Is it where you were born? Is it it's
the
sex?
Jib of your sail?
And if you're going to start dividing, when it all comes down to it, it's like it all is man versus woman. That's what it comes down to. And that was one of the earliest episodes of Mo Facts. I remember Mo making that point, which was, I don't consider myself, a Black man first. He's like, I'm a man first. That's the bear tax. That's getting it down to the, the basic is it's man, then it's Black, then it's whatever else. And I don't think a lot of people still understand that they're trying to do all of this. And if you don't think the migration thing is a big part of the division concept here in the United States and elsewhere, because you have people looking and seeing this in Chicago is very interesting to watch, considering we've had Black mayors now, the second in a row, and we had Harold Washington before. So we have Black run, Black mayor, and the Black citizens who figured, who better to put into that office to do the things that we need him to do to help our community than to have somebody that's part of our community. Then they find out, fuck no, that's not the way it is. This guy's a Democrat.
Well, but then they keep doing it over and over and over. And it's interesting you bring that up because that literally was a topic of conversation on yesterday's recording of Sergine Speaks with Niggerific Energy, as we were talking about Chicago and the fact that Chicago's had 100 years of Democrat mayors and really Democrat rule. And it is one of the worst cities in the country in terms of living conditions for Black people.
Yes. And they're currently giving money and resources to people who literally showed up yesterday that they won't give to the people that have lived here for years. And that just does not make sense.
That's got to make some people feel not so good, because when there's handouts to be had and somebody else is getting them, it just makes you mad.
Well, and there are Black groups in Chicago that are standing up now and going, we could vote Republican, you know. I don't know if they will.
What?
Yes.
They can't dare say that.
They said it. They did.
If you ain't voting for Biden, you ain't Black.
That's what they're saying. That's what Biden said, but he doesn't know where he is.
I mean, clearly what you meant was these dark-skinned white people.
Right. They're obviously very white because they're the only way they can consider.
No Blacks would ever vote for Republicans.
Nope.
According to Biden.
Maybe you find out that the people that have your best interests at heart aren't the ones that you thought did.
But, you know, he may not care because he may not be running for the next season there.
Well, Biden.
Presidential seasons.
Yes. Well, or the mayor for Chicago. I mean,
the mayor for Chicago or any of these folks.
I wasn't even aware of this because I don't follow the mayor of Chicago all that closely, but No Agenda had a clip of him saying, people are asking him, well, all these migrants coming to Chicago, what are you going to do? Are you going to go down to the border? Are you going to check this out? When are you going to help us? When are you going to do this? And he's like, I'm a Black man with a Black wife and Black kids, and I have family responsibilities. So they have soccer games, and I have to schedule around my kids' soccer games.
I'm not going anywhere.
It's like, what the
I'm
fuck
a Black man
talking about? Like, wow.
With responsibilities.
Like, I'm sorry.
Now, I do find it interesting that as a rich Black man, he does not have a white wife.
Yeah, well.
Because that seems to be a trend.
Well, then again, this is where you go back to what Martin Luther King said, and you actually parse the language.
Yeah.
The whole treat people based upon their character. And not notice. That was the whole thing. Be colorblind, not notice.
That's why I'm colorblind, like I've been saying for years.
Well, it's certainly the better way to go about things.
Like, I didn't even know this, but apparently I dated 2 Black girls over the years.
Do they know they were dating you, though?
I'm pretty sure.
It's always a good question.
I got video to prove it.
Oh, was it? But it could be a deep fake. Could be completely AI at this point.
These days, it could be, couldn't it? Yeah, you're right about that.
You never know what that's going to bring up.
Yeah. Wow.
But I just can't believe that is a politician like, well, I've got responsibilities at home. I've never heard a politician use that as an excuse of why they're not getting something done.
I have. You remember when our guy, Ted, I keep thinking Ted Danson, Ted, the senator from Texas, when he was flying out to Mexico in the middle of an ice storm here in Texas because, he's got family responsibilities.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Ted, what?
I don't remember.
I can't remember his name, his last name.
Ted. Not Nugent.
Ted. No, not Nugent. It's the senior senator from Texas. Ted, he ran for president. What the hell is his name?
Good old Ted, he ran for president.
Oh, my God, I can't believe you don't know this.
Was I supposed to know?
How do you not know senators and stuff? Ted Cruz.
Oh, right.
You've heard of him, right?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes, okay. Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, he's a Trumper.
Yeah, because the other guy is John Cornyn, who used to be my neighbor, and he is a total rhino. I wish we would replace him. Hopefully we will soon. But I don't know, man. He's part of the Union Party. And he's definitely not a conservative.
Oh, no,
he's a Republican.
No, I mean, what we are using to categorize the Democrats and Republicans is changing once again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fool's game. And I understand I made this point on Random Thoughts that the Democrats vote in lockstep because Nancy Pelosi, the leadership, Schumer, if you don't vote the way they want you to, then they will not support you for reelection.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to a certain point. And it's like, well, that's why their team is stronger. But on the other side of that, I appreciate the Republicans who go, wait. If the party leadership is doing something I don't like, not going to vote for it. So I like having a brain of your own.
Right.
But I also understand well, then if you don't, they're going to lose their job, which means a lot of these people are like, well, what's the lesser of two evils? Do I play ball and then live to fight another day?
Right.
But it's interesting to see. It's not a very simplistic.
By the way, can you still hear me? I just laid back on the old chaise lounge here.
Yeah, I can still hear you. And
okay, good. This
I
is
heard
comfortable.
The notification, Darian Rundle just came in. He beat CSB for the executive producer slot.
Wow. I got a thanks for eating comment from CSB on X for eating a bagel.
Oh, maybe he likes the AMSR. What's ASMR? That's what it is.
ASMR.
Right?
Well, I think he knows that bagels are Polish.
No, they want some bagels. Unrelenting.
That doesn't sound realistic at all. You should be eating pizza because today's National Pizza Day.
I'll get to that. 565 from Darian, who says, we're snowed in and I got jacked by a client, but still wanted to support. So thank you. And just jack that client right back.
Yeah. We're not giving, criminal advice here or anything.
We don't mean to commit any violent crimes.
Yeah, little do you know that he's actually in Chicago, and when he says jacked,
he was jacked by a client. He means I was really jacked.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to get that. Yeah, you don't want to get jacked. I mean, come to Chicago. If you want the full experience, you have to get jacked.
Yeah, if you're a food delivery guy in Chicago, expect to get robbed by the guy you just brought food to.
Well, or vice versa.
Or both. You could rob each other. Yeah,
I can see that. I can totally see that, especially at your house, because you get a lot of these deliveries. Ding, ding, ding. You open the door. The guy's like, okay, two things. One, here's your bagels. And two, he pulls out a gun like, give me all your money. Gene's like, well, I get to keep the bagels, right? That's cool.
Yeah. Gene's like, I get to keep the bagels and look behind you. You'll see two guys with shotguns pointing at your back right now.
Uh-huh.
So why don't you give me the gun to keep as well? I'll take care of that.
I collect those.
And what are your tips like today? Because I'd like to double check your pockets right about now.
The reverse cheaper round. I like it.
That's how we run it in Texas here.
Everybody has a gun. It's a lot more fun.
It is a lot more fun. I can literally call my neighbor, text my neighbor across the street and say, hey, come out here with your shotgun.
And they'd be like, okay. They wouldn't even ask why.
And they're like, yeah, let me see which one.
Right. Well, the one that's loaded and closest to the door, obviously.
That's still which one? You mean the front door shotgun, the back door shotgun?
Yeah.
Or the bathroom shotgun, the little portable one, the short barrel.
That's why I like these shelving type things that you can hide the guns and they magically just kind of like pop down. It's like you can have a gun in every room.
I have a gun in every room.
See, but would people see them when they came in? That's the difference. Are they concealed? Do you have like the furniture where you kind of move a magnet on the mantle and all of a sudden the thing pops down?
No, why do I need to conceal things? No, they're literally in every room.
Well, it all depends on if you have kids. It all depends on if you want people to know you're totally jacked.
Kids?
So you're just right out there in the open.
Yeah, it's the way it ought to be, man. There should be a loaded gun sitting on every piece of furniture in your house.
Just in case. You got to be protected.
Yeah, because it's a dangerous neighborhood.
And Chicago, I mean, you got to be prepared. I don't see things getting any better here.
They're not gonna.
Although people are leaving, which the bad part of that is they're bringing their politics to places. They're like, oh, well, I'll go to Texas. Yeah. They still want to be liberal when they get to Texas. It's like, you're not understanding.
There's some of that. That is true.
You're not understanding why where you came from sucks.
Here's what I'm starting to see is they definitely do that. They do bring their politics from New York and California and stuff when they move to Texas. But it's on their first visit back that they realize how much better Texas is.
After they go home.
So it's not when they leave. It's when they come back for a visit to where they used to live. That's when it really hits them.
Well, yeah, because they've lived in the new, and humans are very adaptable. It's amazing how quick you become used to something and how you forget the way it was before. And that reminder, it's like, oh, wait, yeah, this was horrible. Even when you know something was horrible, a lot of times you don't remember the details.
Yeah.
You need a good reminder. Like go to San Francisco, then you'll see. Then go to Gene's
or
house.
Just don't because it's horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
But with
it is pretty bad.
Well, and with the mayor in Chicago having a 6-year term, oh my God. I mean, I'm sure
it seems a little excessive.
Yeah. Like there should be, I'm sure there's a way to impeach, but again,
I mean, they're saving money on elections, I guess.
Right. We don't want to do all these crazy things.
Yeah.
But this is it. The citizenry is not happy. And when you start noticing, having a new enemy pop up and the people that are coming to this country are not, well, some are the enemy. The people that are males of military age, of questionable background. But this whole concept that, oh, well, you hate. It's very funny. Like the white people just hate. They don't want brown people coming into their country. Well, then how do you, I've never heard anybody say, and I'm sure they have, but it's not a regularity, especially not on the mainstream media, to be like, this black guy in Chicago doesn't want the migrants. What a racist. You never really hear that.
It's pretty racist.
I think it is, but you don't see that as the way it's being covered.
Because the migrants are mostly Asian.
Now they are, yes.
Yeah.
This is also the concept that the mainstream media is not talking about, is the demographic of people coming in.
Yeah.
Are no longer mainly from Mexico, Venezuela, plenty coming in from the Middle East, plenty coming in from Africa, plenty coming in from China. And nobody is making note of that. And everybody wants you to believe that it's just a bunch of families from Mexico trying to get over the border. And the law that they want to change would give an exemption to families. And it's like, do you realize how stupid that is?
Yeah.
Like, you don't think the cartels, nobody's coming over with ID.
Right. Yeah.
So now you're making it you're encouraging them.
Yeah, they're going to have to steal kids just to put them into fake families.
Yeah. Females and kids are going to be the ones at risk now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you fucking idiots.
It is such a simple, obvious solution, which is just to not let people in, period. Stop it. Stop letting people in.
There is a system in place for legal immigration. Use that.
Exactly. And if you want to change that system, then let's have the conversation. But bypassing a system that already exists by ignoring laws that are on the books is not a solution.
No. Oh, and the interesting thing too, NetNed said something that made me think of this too. Well, how come you can't have 4 guys come in and all be a family? I mean, why?
And 2 of them might consider themselves to be women.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot.
That's the easy answer. All they have to do at the border is say, oh, and by the way, I identify as a female. So technically you can't be saying it's all men coming across.
Right. And I'm a 35-year-old Asian guy, and I identify as a 14-year-old white girl.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that could be a case, but it's, I think there's a few of those in Thailand.
Probably.
But, but yeah, it's just ridiculous is what it is. The country's going to hell in a handbasket. Been saying it for a while, and it's still true. And the sad part is that while there's some outrage and people that are politically astute, us, there's very little general outrage out there. And then the numbers have to get much higher of disappointment and disillusionment and dislike of the government before anything's going to change. Because right now, the Democrats are perfectly fine ignoring laws that are on the books and not caring about it. And why should they care? Because apparently now, a man who's too senile to be charged criminally
Yes.
is still okay to run the country.
Yeah, I don't understand how those two things go together. That's how
it works.
The fact that they're going back to 2015 or 2017 and saying that things Biden was asked at the time he couldn't remember simple things, that is so concerning. And we have talked about it because you can see it. I had one grandmother that had Alzheimer's. I had one that had dementia. I saw this stuff.
I mean, you're kind of screwed then.
Probably. I'm just hoping from the other direction. Or, I'll be dead long before then.
Well, then you got to work on your heart getting worse.
Right. I got to then again, National Pizza Day.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's your time to shine.
It all goes right there together. But you see these things.
Hey, I ate a bagel. The least you can do is eat a whole pizza.
Yeah. My grandmother that had the Alzheimer's, which, I've thought everybody's been talking Biden dementia. Maybe that's part of it. But the Alzheimer's is the one usually more related to, I was just talking to somebody that's been dead 20 years.
Yeah.
Dementia is usually just a failing of memory, where the Alzheimer's seems to be more of I
think dementia is one of the things that happens during Alzheimer's.
So it's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think they're the same thing, but I think when you have Alzheimer's, one of the things you have is dementia. But somebody young can also have dementia without having Alzheimer's.
Right. But Biden not being able to remember dates, like when he was vice president or when
had
his son died.
Brain unscrewed
multiple times.
And he's like 105 years old.
And they found that, yes, he broke the law, but he can never stand trial. And that pissed him off, which is just going to show.
Presidents are excluded from ever standing trial for anything while they're president.
Unless they're Donald Trump.
Except for Trump.
Right. We have to make that carve out. Everything except for Donald Trump.
It's unfortunate for Trump, but there is the Trump carve out.
Yes.
If your name happens to be Trump, no other laws apply to you except for laws the Democrats want to have.
It was interesting from going back to the Putin interview for a minute that he has not talked to Biden since this escalation started. Well, I agree. But he said,
I think I'm just quoting him. It's like, well, why would I talk to him?
It's like, what is that going to do? Well, I understood
if he
Tucker's question.
He can reach out if he wants, but I don't need to talk to him.
We know he's the proxy. We know he's the one providing, or the country that he's in charge of anyway, is providing the materials. Yeah. So that was a kind of an interesting thing. But then Putin also said he had good personal relationships with Bush. I think both Bush and
with both Bushes and
Trump.
Obama.
Yeah,
Obama and Trump.
Yeah,
and it was like, no, he didn't say Obama. He said Trump and Bush.
And Bushes.
So I think it's pretty obvious that the left is going to take away from this. Putin acknowledges that he funded the campaigns of both Bushes and Trump.
Right. Obviously.
Obviously.
It's obvious. It's right there. He basically said it. It should be, I don't even know.
Essentially, you go look at Snopes. Snopes will say Putin admitted to funding campaigns of both Bushes and Trump, as is evident in his interview. True.
It's like, it scares me.
Joe Biden wearing a hat backwards. Nope, that's false. He's not wearing a hat backwards. He's standing facing the wrong direction, but the hat is correct.
And he doesn't know where he is, what he's doing.
Yes.
And that's not going to get better once you have a condition.
Why have I been
like
saying it's time to reopen the asylums for like 20 years now? Because it's time to reopen the asylums.
Well, this is how countries like Singapore don't have drug problems. Because,
it's a death penalty for drugs.
Well, I think the first part of it is you're doing like 2 years of rehab if you're caught. That's like the step number one.
Right.
Which, once you do that, I don't know if you want to get caught again.
Yeah.
But these, there are ways to de-incentivize bad behavior. And this is what living in a society is all about. De-incentivizing bad behavior. Because as human beings, I think we're all kind of prone to some kind of bad behavior, but you look at the logical part of your brain I mean, sure, I'd like to just go take the, 12 donuts over there and just walk away without paying. But the other part of your brain that says, well, no.
You mean the 12 movies over there or the 12 recordings over there?
Exactly.
And walk away without paying?
All of the same
which
thing.
You do?
Well, except that there's one is a physical object that the people no longer have. And one is just a copy that you're archiving for the generations ahead.
Copy. Yeah. Well, in Singapore, you'd get 24 months in prison for that.
You see? And so they
don't have piracy in Singapore.
People have much different behavior because of having a law and having it be enforced.
But I don't think Americans are de-incentivized by prison because America has the highest prison population in the world, higher than India with its 1.5 billion population, higher than China. As a percentage and as a total number, both America has the highest percentage of population in prison and the highest total number of people in prison, which tells you something.
What does it tell you?
Well, that's why I said something, because I'm waiting for you to tell me what it's telling us. Not to, if I would have known, I would have said it, what it's telling us, but it's definitely telling us something.
We're a bunch of horrible criminal types in the United States. And that's maybe the problem. That is maybe the problem.
You're thinking of Australia.
Is it the penal colony?
Uh-huh.
We don't talk about Australia. Dale from Down Under said, do X-nay on the Australia A.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah, he is our number one sponsor. So, I mean, he's our corporate overlord. I mean, CSB's not really the corporate overlord. He's just kind of the underlord, if you will.
And on that note.
I like that I'm getting a message in the back channel. Ready to end? Are you ready? Is that it? Nothing more? Are you going to interrupt at the minute I start playing the theme song?
Of course not.